7:50 right now. The City Council requesting a sit-down with Schools Chancellor Richard Carranza to discuss the state of New York City schools, and he has until tomorrow to respond. The council subpoenaed the Department of Education on Friday for information on remote learning. Now, all of this comes on the heels of Speaker Corey Johnson's courageous confession about his own mental health. And Speaker Johnson is joining me this morning live. So good morning to you, Speaker. First and foremost, thank you for joining us. And thank you for your candidness, really, about your own situation, your personal decision to drop out of the mayor's race because of what was going on in your life. So first, let's discuss that. How are you feeling since you decided to come forward last week about this?
I feel good. I mean, I feel a tremendous amount of relief now. For months and months and months, Dan, I was not feeling like myself. It was a really challenging, 6 months for all of New York City. But for me, I really kind of put my feelings to the side for a long time, because basically from the beginning of March until the beginning of July, I didn't take a single day off. I worked 7 days a week. So I wasn't really able to give myself the self-care that I needed. And then in July, when I tried to slow down a little bit and take some time away, it all crashed down on me like a tidal wave. And so I feel some relief in being able to talk about it openly, not hiding it. I'm in therapy. I'm on medicine. I'm not ashamed of those two things.
Right.
I've been getting the help I need. I'm fortunate that I have a staff that has been tremendously helpful. A lot of New Yorkers, if you work at a grocery store and you're feeling depressed, you don't have a staff like I do that can support you through these times.
Right.
So I've been very fortunate, and I feel some sense of freedom being able to talk about it now. You're only as sick as your secrets. And I don't want to be sick, so I don't want to have any secrets.
Well, and I think that somebody in your position, it is so important to hear somebody say, I'm battling depression and I'm dealing with it, because these are topics that people don't talk about. You know, I often say here on the morning show that I have really bad anxiety, and to suffer from bad anxiety, it keeps me awake at night. And these are issues. Mental health has to be discussed. It has to be in the forefront so people know it's okay to move forward and talk about it. And that's why I just thank you and applaud you for doing this. But I want to ask you, because you mentioned dealing with the city in crisis since March. Did you notice something was different prior to that? Have you been battling this for a long time?
No, I was in talk therapy before the pandemic hit. I've been in talk therapy for years. But then when the pandemic hit in March, I stopped going to therapy for March, April, and most of May. And I started to feel off in the middle of May, and I couldn't figure out why. Less joy, sleeplessness, a lack of appetite, disconnection, all of these things. And I thought maybe it's because I'm working every single day. And when I got back into therapy over Zoom with my therapist and I talked about those feelings, that's what helped me pinpoint and figure out what I was going through. Dan, I came out at 16 years old.
Yeah.
I'm the only openly HIV positive elected official in New York. I've spoke openly about my sobriety. I've been sober for over 11 years. And now I'm speaking openly about my depression. And I've tried to always be open and candid and to destigmatize some of these issues that many people go through, but they have shame around talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, you and I sat inside the historic walls of the Stonewall Inn about your HIV status and coming out as a gay teenager on a football team. You know, and that I think really impacted so many of the youth today, hearing from somebody like you and seeing the position you're in now. What kind of response have you gotten since coming forward about the depression?
Well, I've been sort of shocked in some ways. Maybe I shouldn't have been. First of all, the outpouring of support and love from people that know me even tangentially has been incredibly moving. But what was unexpected was I've received in the last, 3 or 4 days, literally hundreds of emails, direct messages on Twitter, Facebook messages from people who I don't know, New Yorkers who have said, I have been struggling myself, my partner has been struggling, my spouse has been struggling, my children have been struggling with depression or anxiety or another form of mental illness. So to hear from New Yorkers has been very, very moving, because it's not often people talk about these type of struggles because there's so much shame around it.
Right. And you said in your statement that you wanted to be very clear that your decision to end your mayoral campaign wasn't the end of your public life. Did you ever consider taking a leave of absence?
No, I mean, I needed to take a little bit of a break during the summer, and I was lucky that July and August are typically slow at the city council. Our busiest month is June, which is when I kind of set my feelings aside a little bit. And when I took a few weeks in July to be with my boyfriend, to spend time with my mother, to be with friends. That's what led me down the road of taking account of what could fit on my plate. And it wasn't an immediate decision not to run for mayor. I had to sit with it for a while. It's probably one of the most consequential decisions I'll ever make. So it was a process. It was a non-linear process.
Mr. Speaker, I just to thank you again and applaud you for coming forward to talk about this important issue. But I do want to pivot right now to some newsmakers because you are still the speaker, so I want to get you on some other topics. You okay with that?
Yes, of course.
All right, so let's get to it right now because the city is in dire straits. We know it's financially in the hole. Crime and homelessness on the rise. We've talked about it a lot. But schools is the big topic among so many things. Schools trying to figure out what the upcoming school year will look like. You subpoenaed the education department last week. What information are you hoping to get from the department as one of the unions now, the principals union, is voting no confidence in the mayor or the school's chancellor?
Well, I saw the news, of course, over the weekend from the principals union where they talked about not having the confidence that schools can reopen with the amount of staffing needed for children across New York City. The information that the council's trying to get is related to how many kids are actually showing up to do the online learning, how many kids are not showing up, what does access look like. We want to understand and dig deeper to understand who is actually falling through the cracks, both at the end of last school year and going into this school year, to make sure that we can do proper oversight. You know, a lot of these things should have been handled in April or May, not until the summer. And the council's really worried about getting this right for the 1.1 million school children in New York City and for the educators and principals that are trying to get this right for their kids.
Well, educators were screaming from the rooftops since March, really, that they needed more teachers in the fall, and that didn't seem to happen until the 11th hour. Do you have confidence that the mayor and the chancellor are doing the right things to get schools up and running?
I can't tell you I have confidence that it's going to get done on the time frame that's put out there because it's been pushed back multiple times already. And you saw the statement over the weekend from the union, which said that even with the changes that have been made over the last 4 to 6 weeks, they still are not confident. And these principals are the ones that are closest to knowing what the staffing challenges are. So I still think that there are hurdles and obstacles on the horizon.
Understood. And lastly, we were almost out of time. I just want to get your take on what happened over the weekend. We saw police moving on protesters in the West Village who claimed they were doing nothing wrong. I saw your tweet about it. People sitting outside at a restaurant even got caught in this. So you talked about the right to protest, calling it sacrosanct. What unfolded here? Did the NYPD mishandle this?
I'm not sure yet. We need to get more facts, but from the video that's on the screen right now, you see cops rushing at people who do not appear to be doing anything wrong besides protesting. And so this is an incredibly disturbing video. We need de-escalation. We need to bring people together. And incidents like this do not help the city move forward. And we need to make sure if anyone was behaving unacceptably, who was wearing a uniform or carrying a gun, that they are held accountable. And we want to make sure that that's done.
Speaker Johnson, appreciate your time this morning and for a very frank and honest conversation. Do appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan, as always. Be safe.
You too. Thank you.